Hi everyone, this is Stephen Hewer with Synergistic Nutrition. Today I wanted to share with you our new One World Whey. So all of you know that I've spoken about this many times, that One World Whey is not only a structurally intact, non-denatured whey protein, unlike all the others that go through a process that they become denatured, but it also has a frequency science that is encoded into it. And that frequency science is, in large part, why One World Whey generates such exceptional results. In fact, if you go and look at virtually any other whey protein powder website, you won't see the testimonies that we have garnered. That's because there's a signaling science in One World Whey that's not in the other whey protein powders. And the reason that that's so important is because, take for example, when you're in your 20s and you have the most muscle mass, the most strength, the strongest immune system, the greatest recovery, the highest sex drive. That's all because of growth factors. IGF-1 growth factor, testosterone, estrogen, insulin, and a lot of other named and unnamed growth factors. So when they're highest in your body's able to absorb amino acids from your dietary protein more readily. And then when the amino acids are absorbed into the cells, your cells make protein more efficiently. So everything basically is renewing itself at a very high rate. If you look at, say, an 80-year-old person, that person, whether male or female, has shrunken. They've literally shrunk in height. Their muscle mass has atrophied or shrunk. Their organs have shrunk. Their brain is shrunk. Their skin is thinner. These are all basically signs of a low level of growth factors. By the time a person is 80 years old, they have, their ability to make protein is declined by, I'm going to guess, probably about 50 to 60%. I know that when you're 50, your ability to make protein is declined by 30%. So this all has to do with growth factors. It doesn't have to do with the amount of protein you intake. So virtually you could be eating the same amount of protein when you're 28, 30 years old as you are when you're 50, but when you're 50, you're making 30% less protein in your body, even though you're eating the same amount of protein. So the amount of protein isn't as important as the amount of growth factors. And you can see this in bodybuilders. Those men and those women that are gifted with the genetics to produce a high level of growth factors put on muscle mass very easily, and they tend to retain it longer throughout their life because of their genetics. So I hope you understand by now that it's not the amount of protein that you're taking into your body that's so important as the degree of efficiency. So I know many men who eat far less than me but have a far more robust, larger body, more muscle mass than I do, because my genetics don't allow me to absorb readily amino acids from dietary proteins as well, nor are my growth factors as high, and that all has to do with not being breastfed and a lot of other things. So if you take time to look at Masaru Emoto's work, this is a Japanese scientist that did some research on how water holds memory, and he took water and exposed it to a word. He'd take the word I love you, thank you, I hate you, the devil, and he'd put that word on a piece of paper and tape it onto a glass of water, and then let some time period elapse, and then he'd take that water, put it onto a slide, freeze it, and then water, when it's frozen, will take on the snowflake hexagonal structure, usually, and will take on a snowflake pattern around the hexagonal structure. Now, if that snowflake pattern was, I should say if the frequency was a positive frequency, positive message, I love you, thank you, gratitude, then you would see a beautiful snowflake pattern. In fact, I'll take time and I'll show you right now what I'm talking about. Okay, so you saw that snowflake. That was a result of water that had been exposed to molecular resonance effect technology. This is a water frequency device that we carry. It's a half-gallon pitcher. You fill it up with water and you rest on top of the pitcher a treatment device that basically radiates these life-giving frequencies into the water. Okay, that's a whole other subject, but basically that beautiful snowflake pattern is information that goes into your body and helps structure your water in your body to be in a healthier state, helps your cells function more healthfully, helps your cells be hydrated properly inside and outside the cell. So with One World Whey and this frequency science, we have in the past been using a purely protein product to embed the frequency into. But we know that carbohydrates have more water in them. So the word hydrate stands for water. So hydration, hydrate, that's the word for water. And so carbohydrates are rich in water. So we have found that there's less water in protein and more water in carbohydrates. So we have increased the amount of water in this next batch of One World Whey by increasing the amount of carbohydrate. And so the reason I'm taking time to explain this to you, because I'm a naturopath, I have an education on physiology, biochemistry, nutritional science, proteins, fats, carbohydrates, amino acids, and I can basically elucidate more eloquently than most the role that carbohydrates play in the body. Because today, what we're seeing is a big mistake being made by many leading, quote, experts in the field of nutritional science that are saying we should be living our bodies in a state of ketosis, that somehow we're designed to burn fat for fuel preferentially over carbohydrates. Well, I can tell you categorically that's not correct. The body's designed to run on carbohydrates, and yes, in emergency situations, in starvation situations, fasting situations, the body will run on fat for fuel. But it's not its ideal nor optimal, nor does it burn that more efficiently. It burns carbohydrates more efficiently. The problem is that you've got people that have been raised from the 50s forward, have been raised in an era of massive levels of nutritional ignorance, where white sugar products, refined white sugar, has been in the diet in massive amounts. Whether it's drinking your soda pop, whether it's eating your ice cream at night, whether it's your sugar-coated cereal every morning for breakfast, which I grew up on, and many people, so they grow up on so much refined white carbohydrate sugar or white flour that that combined with bringing in monosodium glutamate into the diet, which monosodium glutamate was brought into the diet as a flavor enhancer in all your fast food chains, Kentucky Fried Chicken, McDonald's, and all these chain restaurants that make it so that whatever you're eating is exceptionally tasty. They have, pretty much guaranteed they put food-derived MSG in that food, where they take any kind of a protein, whether it's a soy protein or a whey protein, they hydrolyze it further, and they basically make a food-derived monosodium glutamate that's not as high a concentration as chemically derived monosodium glutamate, so they don't have to call it monosodium glutamate, they can call it natural flavor. And natural flavor is plastered on the labels of most commercial, pre-prepared, whatever, spaghetti sauces, smokehouse almonds, ice cream. It's in so many pre-prepared products that people have been eating innocently in America, mass America, non-nutritionally aware America. So that causes you to become obese. It causes you to develop insulin insensitivity, not be able to utilize the sugar in your diet or the carbohydrate in your diet as a fuel source, but instead it stays in the bloodstream and turns into fat. So you have the ignorance of high sugar consumption for decades. You have the ignorance of eating natural flavoring with monosodium glutamate as a flavor enhancer in so many foods, and any number of other factors, cooked vegetable oils in the diet, which are highly free radical generating. Basically any substance that's going to damage the cell membrane with a free radical or stimulate the body to produce insulin and try and use that insulin and create this condition where you're overstimulating the body with too much sugar in the diet. You create a condition of insulin insensitivity, which is what we see going on in 50, 60, 70-year-olds rampantly, and even younger than that. Insulin insensitivity, metabolic syndrome. Your body's not absorbing your carbohydrates or sugar, and you're turning it into fat, and you're becoming an overweight person. Okay, well, that's not because of carbohydrates, natural carbohydrates in the diet, that's the problem. Your grains, your whole grains in your diet, your legumes in your diet, your fruit in the diet, your honey in the diet. Okay, these natural carbohydrates, with all their phytonutrients, with all their vitamins and minerals, are being demonized because of 50 years of ignorance of creating an insulin insensitive body from these other aberrant things. You're not supposed to be eating white sugar ever. You're not supposed to be eating MSG ever. But yet people did for decades, and they created this diabetic state in their bodies, and now skull and crossbones goes on all carbohydrates. No, 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 no. If you take time to clean up your diet, go to organic, and for people who are type 2 diabetics, it's been proven that that can be reversed in like 3 weeks on a raw vegan diet. Gabriel Cousens has done that. He's got a place in Arizona where people have come with their type 2 diabetes and taking insulin, and they'll be on this raw vegan diet for 3 weeks, and they get off their insulin. They'll be able to have insulin sensitivity again and absorb carbohydrates. So in that state, yes, it's advantageous for a person to be conscientious not to consume refined white sugars and to preferentially try and burn ketones for fuel. But my point is that you can get your body back to the state where it's insulin sensitive, both where you're producing insulin and your body's insulin sensitive, so you can absorb carbohydrates again. Because your body wants to burn carbohydrates. If you simply take the proper nutrients into the body, we have a product called sugar uptake. Sugar uptake has cinnamon extract in it and chromium in it and several other nutraceuticals and herbs that literally make it so that your body absorbs sugar again. So even in the absence of insulin sensitivity, you're still going to absorb sugar better in this time window while you're sugar sensitive, so you can take sugar uptake to get around that and absorb glucose again. The reason I take all this time to explain this is because we've added and made it so that One World Whey contains 50% carbohydrates in the form of non-GMO maltodextrin and non-GMO dextrose. So dextrose is just another word for glucose. Glucose is the number one fuel of the body, no matter what it is, whether you're eating some carbohydrate, whether you're eating a starch carbohydrate or whether you're eating a fruit carbohydrate, the body will convert that into glucose and burn that in the mitochondria to make ATP. Every molecule of glucose in a healthy body will convert into 32 units of energy, and in an unhealthy body, where the body's too acidic, low oxygen levels, that molecule of glucose can go down to being converted into only 2 units of energy, like in a tumor cell, and produce a lot of lactic acid. That's in a tumor cell. So pH plays a role in how well you're burning carbohydrates into energy. So ideally your saliva pH should be 7 to 7.4. That's a reflection of your body being alkaline and being able to have higher oxygen levels, and therefore more readily converting glucose in the mitochondria into ATP or energy in the presence of oxygen. So say all this to basically explain that carbohydrates are what God designed us to eat, because if it wasn't that way, then we wouldn't have preferentially of all the tastes that we have, sweet, sour, bitter, salt, the one dominant taste bud that we have over all the others is sweet. We have more receptors for sweet than we do for others. So rather than following these doctors that are like supposedly MDs and experts on nutrition, I say most doctors are compromised because they had a medical education, so they don't understand causes. They're behind the schedule of figuring it out, of looking for causes. So they're still more divorced from nature. They're not listening to their intuition. They're not listening to, because if you don't listen to your intuition as well as your intellect, then you're lost, because your intuition is your inner voice that God gave you to let you connect to nature and give you that guidance so you know what's best for you. And I can tell you for certain that grapes are good for you, even though they're virtually 100% glucose. And unheated honey is virtually very good for you. It's a digestive aid. If you take that at the end of a meal, you're going to help to have enzymes to digest your food, and it's just an excellent tonic. If you take honey with our black cumin seed oil, now you've got a total win-win situation for shuttling that black cumin seed oil into all the cells of the body, neutralizing free radicals, getting all the benefits of the chemical thymoquinone that kills viruses and kills tumor cells and all kinds of stuff, plus gives you a ton of energy. So we've put this non-GMO, maltodextrin and dextrose in it because they are higher in water. And so therefore they're carrying the frequency. We put the frequency into the product, and now we carry more of the frequency into your body than could be carried if it was just a whey protein. So now you're going to make more efficient use of the protein and the amino acids in the One World Whey than you are if you had just 100% whey protein. Because what I said in the beginning is that if you don't have the growth factors, the signaling system to the cell, you can eat all the protein you want like an 80-year-old and you're still going to be skinny, thin-skinned, atrophied muscles, and weak because you don't have growth factors. So it's the same thing with this frequency science. The frequency science is signaling the cells to open up and absorb amino acids, make proteins, and make energy. We've already tested this product on quite a few people, and we've had diabetics control their blood sugar better. We've had people have their constipation go away. We've had people experience phenomenal increases in energy. So we know it works. It's just I have to take time to educate you to overcome your predisposition, because there's so much misinformation out there about carbohydrates and we should be a ketogenic diet. Sorry, that's not the case. I don't care who the authority is out there and what their titles are. They're wrong. They aren't connected. The doctors out there, as I said before, they're not connected to their intuition. They're connected to their little studies they do, and then they come to these conclusions divorced of connected to nature. So we have an improved product now. This product will work better in your body because you'll have more of the signaling system to make it so you absorb the amino acids and the protein from One World Whey better. So even though we've reduced the protein content to 10 grams per serving and increased the carbohydrate content to 10 grams per serving, you'll get more utilization of the 10 grams of protein now than you did when it was 20 grams of protein. It's just a fact. We've already done the studies on people. We know this stuff works. So I hope you have full faith and confidence in One World Whey as a superfood, phenomenal nutraceutical for your body's health, for blood sugar regulation, for energy production, for glutathione production, for detoxification, for reducing free radicals, eliminating inflammation, and all the things that a good non-denatured whey protein can do, you get from One World Whey. And I hope you take advantage of this product. Right now we have, for this window of time, and we have this window where we are manufacturing the product and we're behind schedule, so we are currently out of stock. And so we expect to get it in hopefully by no later than first week of December, possibly sooner. But until that time, we have discounted One World Whey, and to ask you to consider pre-ordering it, and so that when it comes in, it'll ship out to you immediately, but that we've taken and discounted it for you to give you an incentive to purchase it now. All right, blessings of health, happiness, enlightenment, well-being. Feel free to call us. We love you and appreciate you, and be the light in the world that you're meant to be. Thank you.